Operator Syndrome. We're here with Jose. We're talking about what it's like being a ranger sniper, and other things. Man, we left off. We were talking about we did our first deployment. That was fun. We got out there, not a lot, but we earned at least enough trust to go out one or two times.
Yes, sir.
Do the training cycle. Before we talked about the second deployment, this is where we diverged a little bit because I ended up going to school, to Ranger school during
Yep.
that deployment. So I did the whole training cycle, then I ended up going to school. So I didn't need to go, but you did go. So, and there were different dynamics in different squads that determined when you might go to school. I talked about my squad at the time in some earlier episodes, and why I got to go at the time I got to go. But like, your squad, third squad, you're there, you're doing a good job. Second deployment's coming up. How many folks did you have ahead of you in line to go to school?
I had, I believe, two in my squad. There was two other guys that were they had seniority.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that, it was
Mm-hmm.
usually a seniority thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they one of them went and uh and the other one did not. But
Mm-hmm.
I uh I I didn't get to go that training cycle or towards the end of that second deployment is when I got my chance or I got selected, not because of seniority, but oh no, I'm sorry. He got hurt, if you remember,
Mm-hmm. Right.
on the helicopter crash that
Mm-hmm.
hurt him. But he was first in line to go. And
Mm-hmm.
then afterwards, after that second deployment, it was we had a smaller squad, and then I'm I'm drawing a blank here, but I remember it's after the second deployment training cycle. I don't know if I got a chance to go or not. I did not. I think it was after my second deployment. After the third deployment is when I got to go, and that was, I think,
I don't think that sounds right. I'm not trying to
uh,
question you in front of the entire
yeah,
world, but I don't think that's right. Well, let's go step by step. Maybe that
yes,
helps.
yes, yeah.
The real thing I wanted to call out is that it can be a crapshoot about when you go. Like,
Hmm.
if there are folks senior to you and you're all pretty high performers, um, sometimes that can get in your way. That wasn't necessarily the case in my squad. To some extent, I think I got to go a little bit early because I think they were trying to mix things up a little bit and call some guys out for taking a long time to get out there. So so for this second deployment of yours, I'm sort of I'm out of the loop with what's going on. So that second deployment, where do you go? Where are you going?
So second deployment, we were in Afghanistan.
Hmm.
First time there, first time seeing snow. I remember that.
Really?
Um, yeah,
No kidding. Okay.
yeah. We're not. It's horrible, by the way. It's not all the hype. But anyways, but second deployment in Afghanistan. Um, I'm still a private, just doing what I'm told, and it was awesome. We got to go out. I remember Humvee sometimes, and then a lot of you know objectives that we had to prepare for, and but now we're preparing with I more knowledge on my side. Like I
Hmm.
understand what's going on. I know what we're doing, and I know what you know why we're taking this and taking that. I was at the time I was a 2 or 3 gunner.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And I remember I had to learn everything about a 2 or 3, why I carry was an HP run and all this other stuff, HP, DP, and all that. And I would have these little cards with me, and I wanted to do the best that I could, uh, you know, to impress these guys. And always on the top of my head was just do more, so they can get off your back if that's the case. But it's a good deployment. Um,
But hold on one second. So was the platoon operating independently, or was it were you paired up with like tier 1 unit for that.
I think we were independent at that beginning of the deployment.
Okay.
I remember maybe there was a joint mission,
Mm-hmm.
one or two, but for the most part, we were independent.
How many times a week would you say you all went out?
That
And
second
it
deployment,
may, yeah, the second, and maybe it fluctuated, but on average, how often do you think you went out a week?
oh, a good four or five times a week,
Okay, that's a yeah, that's almost every night. So that's pretty good.
almost every night. Yes.
And that's
Um,
surprising, especially during the winter time. Um,
yes,
but that also that makes sense why you're doing the ground missions too.
yes. Um, Another thing that I got to experience there was, training with the doing training, back home in comparison to doing training, in Afghanistan. It's
Mm-hmm.
and um and of course, towards the middle of that deployment, we had that incident with the helicopter crash that
Mm-hmm.
killed a lot of members, and it was bad, especially because it was my squad that was on that bird.
Mm-hmm.
In one night you lose half of your squad, good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Some die, some get injured, and you can do nothing about it. You know what I mean? You're just sitting there watching this happen, and you can't do anything about it other than hope and pray that everything's gonna come out fine for them and their family, and then just carry on, continue mission.
What what
Next,
were what was the circumstances around that mission? Like, do you recall what was going on? Why did you guys? They only took half your squad. Is that right? Do I remember that correctly?
yes, they took a team, right?
Okay.
So they took uh the squad leader, one team leader, and I think Bravo, yeah, Bravo team, and then that's it. I remember this, and I don't know. I think it was different, but I remember me and one of the guys that was on that bird. We were good friends, and we were in the same squad, we were on the same team. Um, but somehow he got to go, and I didn't get to go.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, he got to go, and then the other two or three gunner at the time, um, he passed away. He was gonna go. I said, well, let me go. I'll go. And I think they were gonna let me go, but the team leader said, no, you stay, you go. And I was like, man, because it was just another mission. You
Right.
know what I mean? And you know, I nobody thought anything of it. It was just the circumstances that happened, and you know, stuff happened. But
Mm-hmm.
in the back of my head, I was like, man, like what? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why did it go down like that?
Right.
But at the end of the day, this is what we signed up for, and it was sad. But like I said, you have to continue mission. And the next day, everybody's set, but we still gotta keep doing what we gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the deployment, I don't know why exactly we moved from Afghanistan at the middle of the deployment. We ended up going down to Salerno towards the end, and then my squad got a couple more members from the Reiki side to come fill up the squad so we can continue doing missions in
Mm-hmm.
Salerno, and we finished out the deployment there. How do I remember? Oh
And
yeah,
do you,
so towards the end of the deployment is when I was getting ready for that PT test. So it's one of those things where the guy that was supposed to go for the Ranger School sadly was hurt.
mm-hmm.
So now a slot opens, and I get to go to to the to school. I had to prepare for my PT and everything, and as long as I passed, they said it was good, and so I did. But I went to pre-ranger and failed pre-ranger. That's what it was.
Okay, well, let's talk
Little
about.
finger.
We'll talk about that. And
Yeah.
I'm interested in. There are a lot of feelings going on right now, right? So, I mean, some folks close to us die. That sucks. Guys are injured. You're having to figure that out. You're still having to grapple with, okay, I still got to go out basically every night, and you know, there's a lot of mental capacity focused towards that. and then now on top of it, okay, oh, I got to go to Ranger School too. And then from a timeline perspective, they were probably telling you that, okay, when we get back, you're going to go to Ranger School.
Yeah,
By the way, you got kids, you got a family. So most people looking forward to the end of a deployment are thinking, okay, I get to be back home. I get to, do my thing, but you're looking at spending at least, 62, 63 days out in the woods
yeah.
but was it some from was it something you looked forward to, or was it something you dreaded? Did you think it was pointless? Did you think it was a great opportunity? How'd you feel about that? Okay, I'm in here. I'm in the real deal. People are dying here, and then now you're going to send me to this school. When once we get back, when I'm supposed to be recovering, what was your mindset?
Look, man, my mindset at that time, after the uh, after the crash,
Mm-hmm.
again, yeah, you're right. Emotions were, at least for me, they were all over the place. The thing is, in my head, I was like, man, just keep your head in the game, because if you mess up, something gonna happen to you or somebody, or worse, I will always say something happened to somebody else, because my head's not in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I felt comfortable being around each and one of those, you know, men around me in Ranger Regiment. I felt safe, man. I'll be completely honest with you. I knew that they knew what they were doing, so I had to do my part so they could feel the same way, you know, uh, and and feel that I knew what I was doing, and they would feel safe. After the crash, a lot of stuff went through my head, but I felt like now I have a duty more than ever to show to do my best, go to school, and now that I have this opportunity, and not waste it, this is for them in a way. You know what I mean? Because it was this kid's turn to go, but he got hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk about it later. But amazing recovery and amazing things he did afterwards. At the time I was like, man, I have now I have to do this. I have to show them that I can do this. You know what I mean? Speak for them, for myself. That I dreaded, yes, because I heard horrible stories about Ranger School, and I was like, man, I love to sleep, so I know this is gonna be bad. But at the same time, whenever I come home, I go see my kids. It, I would think about my kids. I was like, man, I gotta do this for them too. Show them
Mm-hmm.
that their dad's not some loser dude,
Mm-hmm.
and for them. But then also I would think back at my job, and I want to do it for them so they can see that I'm not a loser dude. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
and so I felt a lot of responsibility, especially after the crash. Because now I know, and you know how serious of a thing we're in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the reality hits that, man, you got to be prepared for everything. So
Yeah, I heard about it. I was in Ranger School when I heard about the crash. We were still in Darby, so like I barely started, and I hear about it, and it's um pretty wild.
did that
Um,
mess with you when you were at Darby? Would you say?
it did, I think so. Because I'm like, oh my. uh, The only thing I heard was that Garbs had died. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
The guy who told me he didn't know the other guy the other ranger that died was a new guy from a different platoon.
Thomas.
Tom, yeah, Christopher Thomas, right? Or wait, is that Winnie the Pooh? No, okay, Tom. I know last name was Thomas,
Yes,
um, but so I obviously didn't know him. I don't think he had even been there by the time I left. So he was pretty new,
he
I
was
think.
totally new. Yes.
Yeah, very new. But all I knew is that Garbs had died, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything else about who might have gotten hurt, who might have, this or that. And that might sound strange to people nowadays because I don't know how it works, but when you and I went, it was still like you still went pretty much off the grid. Like I think you could do letters. I think you could do a phone call. It's like being in prison. Like you get a phone call between like phases. Like so you really didn't know. So all I knew, I'm at the beginning, and then I find out Garbs died, and I'm like, so what happened to anybody else? Um, and I knew Garbs was in your squad, so like So all I had to go off of was rumors. I'm like, okay, Garbs died. What the fuck? Trying to process that, and then, but I didn't know anything about anybody else. And the only all I had to go off was rumor from some random dude who heard from some other random person. It
Dude,
was
guess
messed
what?
up, man. It was messed up. So yeah. Um, but you know what it's like when you get in there. You're just like trying to survive. So
Yeah,
it's something I had in the back of my mind, and I didn't really learn about what happened until after I got out. And to be honest, even after I got out of school and I came back, like people didn't really want to talk about it. So
yeah.
there's actually a lot about that deployment and that crash that I don't know even today. You and I talk a little bit about it, but you know,
I
no,
think
nobody likes talking about it.
it's the man, man.
Yeah,
Is that man mentality. Like, let's not let's let's continue on what we've got to do. Don't worry about that part.
yeah.
I mean, uh, but it's I guess it's good to talk about it. I'm sure I know now.
At
But
least, yeah, at least now. I mean, I would hear snippets. You know, one person got what medal? Like the soldiers medal, I think.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know,
The
so
one thing
some,
I'm telling you about,
yeah.
you know, for as much as people don't recognize the kid in what he went through on afterwards, a broken back and saved many
Hmm.
with a broken back. I think that's
Yeah.
that's, that's
There were, I mean,
crazy.
and there were, I think there were a couple got, there were a couple of guys who were involved in that who got hurt badly, and I mean, well, there are a bunch of dudes who got hurt
Yes,
badly, but it is if you think back, it's amazing what a couple of those guys came back and kept trying to grind it out. Some did
yeah,
better than others.
yes, sir.
Um,
Yes,
one guy in particular, he was like never the same after that, right? I think you and I,
yes,
you know,
yes. You
thinking of one guy
not.
who started like drinking and then he sort of just quietly faded away at some
Yeah,
point, you know. So um yeah, but nobody really talked about it. Um, so you get back,
yeah.
so you get back and you go to pre-ranger.
I go
So
to
what
pre.
happened to pre? So how'd you recycle pre-ranger? How'd you end up recycling pre-ranger?
Man, they make it too hard, bro. I'm joking. No, I think I failed. Let me tell you what I
They were
failed.
out to get me.
They knew they don't like Hispanics. No, they I failed land nav because I horrible. But it was a mistake on my part that I saw immediately after I made it.
Hmm.
Uh, I and I have no excuse, and I know they would have given me another chance as I begged them. No, I'm joking. I would have. I mean, if I would have done it again, I would have done it. I would have been just fine. But it was a
Well,
mistake on my part.
what was the mistake?
I plotted everything incorrect. I plotted everything incorrectly, and then and I had this thing where I don't like going through roads. I just go, that's the point. I'm just gonna go straight through it. And I
Hmm.
just march on down and like a little tank.
That's
And
a
then I get there
technique.
and I'm like, it is a dead reckoning, I think they call it.
I think so.
And
Yeah.
so I did that, but ended up in a swamp. I'm like, what's going on? And then like and then the night one was even worse. I was like, and then I realized I'm plotting this wrong, and I was like, man, well, yeah, it happens. And then I came back.
Uh, uh,
But here's the thing: I came back just in time for the search. If you remember that,
The cert. Oh, okay. You're talking about coming back from ranger school. Well,
from Pre-Ranger,
from pre-ranger. Oh, wait a
Pre-Ranger.
second. So you can't hold on. Let's talk land nav real quick. I always I say that land nav is an interesting thing because a lot of people would assume, as they should, that we should be good at land nav. But I tell people, like, for some guys, it's like golf. Like some guys, sometimes you just have a bad day and you just do dumb stuff, you
Yeah,
know? Like you just have an off day. That never really happened to me, but
Landman Master over there.
yeah, yeah, Tiger Woods of land nav. But for some guys, it's just like you just have a bad plotting it wrong is
That was
it.
me, bro. That was
But
every
but
day.
but the thing is like the thing I never understood about having problems with land nav out at Cole Range is like we've spent so much time at Cole Range. Like you got the well, you got
But they had new points and the
oh,
new
okay, okay.
system. All right, and the map was backwards. And there's I don't know, man. I
The
got no
the
excuse.
Earth's Earth's
You're right.
polarity is changing.
You should be able to walk to every point without. I think the cadre does without them, man. So, but not me, man. I was
It
so
happens.
eager. I'm gonna knock it out. I'm like, nah, dude.
It
They
happens.
don't.
Okay, so so you didn't get so it sounds like you're saying you didn't get recycled for Blue Ranger. Did you come back to the they sent you back to the platoon or
Right
did you
back
get
to the
recycled?
blue team.
Whoa,
No,
I didn't know
no,
that.
no, there's no recycling. They sent me right back. And I think maybe I would have gotten the chance to go, but
Mhm.
um, we got involved on the search, so
Hold on.
ended up having to leave.
So what was that? What what did that feel like
Going
getting
back,
sent back from Pre-Ranger?
that felt first embarrassing
Yeah.
because it was Lana, and then second disappointment, man, because you have your at the time I had a new team leader now. My old team leader had left. That last deployment was his last deployment. And it was a little bit worse because there was a gentleman in my platoon in my squad at the time who was he was now a team leader. Before he was a specialist and did not like me as much as I would have liked him to like me, I guess. And we would have we would butt heads there once in a while as a private, and he was a task specialist.
Hmm.
Um, and so now he was in position of a leadership position as a team leader. So imagine coming home to that dude as a failing pre-ranger. It didn't go well with him, and he made sure I knew about it. But then my other team leader or my squad leader at the time, he uh he said, "Hey man, that stuff happens. We're gonna train and we're gonna get you back out there." And I was one of the kind of guys that I feel something and I feel bad, but I don't I gotta keep moving, or do what you gotta do. If you need to kick me out, kick me out. Do what you gotta do. It doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna sit there and and not do my job to the best of my ability just because I failed that one thing. But I did feel bad, real bad.
I mean, that's always something looming over you in the
Yep.
Ranger Regiment. Of all places, it's at any
Mhm.
second I can screw up. I can slip up and then they're going to kick me out of here.
Yep.
Did you at any point think that you might get kicked out for that or did you or
Yes. Yes. When I was on the way back, I was like, man, they're gonna either smoke me up and kick me out or just kick me out or it's
mhm,
embarrassing. But I think, like I said, I think that my I got saved because of that whole well,
the
we
surge?
we need somebody. We need a
Mhm.
assault gunner. And I was like, oh, okay, well, definitely go.
Mhm.
Not that I had a choice, but I'm just glad that they didn't even think about RF. You know what? I got written up. That's what it
Uh,
was. I got written up by the one uh uh team leader
mhm.
and I got counsel like, hey man, the same thing they tell you, you represent Ranger Regiment, this and that, and I'm the right thing to get better, and so I did. I got better, and Atlanta was never an issue again.
Mhm. Yeah, that to me is scary. I recycled Darby twice.
Wow.
So so it took me a long time to get out of Darby. So I recycled Darby twice, but I never got sent back. I think I'd rather recycle Darby twice and not have to come back and deal with that than to
I think if you
recycle.
tell the story of why you didn't have to go back, they might come and get your diploma.
Wait, say that again?
I think if you tell the story of why or how you managed to get through it.
How I stuck around. I think I told that story, didn't I? I'll tell it really quickly. So like first I failed a PT test. Good job me. So first I failed a PT test and then I'm standing in formation and I guess he's like the sergeant major of the course. I don't know what, but all the PT test failures are standing in a formation. This guy's coming down the line and he's trying to figure out where people were coming from and what they failed. So, everyone's talking, and as he's after he talks to folks, he's basically like it's almost like a court. He's like saying, "Okay, well, you're going to stick around. You're going to give it another shot." Blah, blah blah. Or he's telling people that they're out of there. And so he comes to me he said and then he says, "I'm out of there," and he keeps going on. I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm getting kicked out of here. I'm dead. I'm dead." And then so he goes through and then he leaves. And it's the strangest thing. I've been in the army a little while then. That's not normal that it comes down to talking to some guy, I guess like a mass counseling formation. Anyways, the RIs who were not paying attention, and I noticed we're not really paying attention. The guy was like, okay, so if he told you you're staying, get over here. If he told you you're leaving, get over here. And I just fucking went and stood in front of people who were saying, I'm like, well, I'm staying, dude. Like I'm not going.
Dude, man, I would have left. Well, listen, they told me to go. I didn't want to go. They told me.
Like
Um,
which is strange because in the army and the regiment, like everything is about like strict adherence to but in that moment I was like thinking about me. I'm like, I am not leaving here.
because you
I am
can't go back without it.
I am I am too scared to go back.
That is yeah. And you get better and better and better because of fear of failure to those guys in regiment. And you can't go back without that tab. That's I mean, am I wrong? That's the mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't mean that like like I got recycled. I had to retake the PT test. I passed, obviously. And then so like I still had to do everything. It's not like I skipped the line, but in that moment, I was like, I you know all of I had a Jason Bourne moment. Like I'm aware of everything. I like the RIs aren't paying attention. What is this?
Yeah,
Like
the
in my
numbers
head,
going through your
and
head.
the other piece, I swear, is in my head. I was thinking like, is this a test? Or is this like some sort of like screwed up mind games? Is it like, does he, the things you'll do to justify breaking the rules? But I'll be like, I think he wants me to ignore what he said.
He wants me to take initiative, and I'm on this.
Like
Oh man,
he wants me to bend. What would a Navy SEAL do? Would a Navy SEAL go sent? No, I'm just kidding. So, anyways, so yeah, that and then I failed patrols. I was the platoon sergeant for the movement, and I was lost, dude. I didn't know what the heck was going on. Not only I didn't know where we were. I didn't have accountability of my dudes. I was like, this is fair. I should be recycled for this. I
I
agree.
can see this one.
I see it. I
This is
see
on
it.
me, guys. This is on me.
This one's on me. Everybody else get a go. But yeah, so I hung out in Darby for a while, and then I went through mountains one time, and then I did. Um, and then
I went straight through the
good
whole.
for you.
It's
Must
a
be
pure.
nice.
It was
Well, you had to come back after pre-range, so I feel like that's earned. But
it was pretty bad. No, but I mean, yeah, you do what you got to do, and to get through and get that tab, and you did absolutely. I remember you coming back from school with your little tab, and think you were better than
I
everybody.
told you to stand at parade rest for me.
And I did. I remember I called you so I suspicious Nelson. I was like, man, fucking. No, I
That's
never
not
said that. I
true.
was
He's
happy
Joe.
for
For
you
everyone who knows, I would never tell him to stand at parade rest for me. Never.
in front of people, but
In front of you, in our barracks
in a
room,
room he did.
in our room, he did.
No, but it was
Um,
cool, man. It was cool to see you come back and and you became one hell of a team leader. I remember, matter of fact, I remember I worked under you for a little bit to try to get my position as a team leader. So I was shocked. Remember that? And I think Mazel, because I was a
Mosul,
gun
yeah,
team leader.
yeah.
And so I was like, man, just whatever Nelson does, I'm gonna do too. I'm gonna do it. That's pretty cool, man.
S-
Pretty cool.
Okay, so
You
okay,
jumped
so
over like four
so
deployments.
you no, so we come back. Okay, so okay, the surge. I get. Well, how are we doing? Okay, we got some. So um, you come back from pre-ranger.
Yes.
The surge that happens. For background, um, I guess it ended up they thought they found the big guy.
Yes.
At the time, one Bin Laden, and so
Yes.
they were
Maybe you heard
send.
of it.
Maybe you heard of them, but they sent everything in the kitchen sink over, and this was like 2007, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so we go over there, and I definitely didn't do much. But I mean, how would you describe your experience?
It was more of a sit down and wait
Mm-hmm.
type uh or hurry up and wait type thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
but we were always ready. I know we were a type of QRF
Mm-hmm.
for another group.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple of teams from all the platoons that did do missions.
Mm-hmm.
Some people got hurt, from what I understand. But on my side, it was I really didn't do much. We kind of just sat there and waited and we're ready. We trained,
Hmm.
we kept training and just ready for anything. But I personally don't remember my platoon or my squad doing anything, you know, that would say, we came close to fighting or catching this guy.
Hmm.
It's one of but other groups are there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we got surged over, and we were like in a supporting, so we were gonna obviously fill whoever was deployed ahead. They would have priority on actually doing any kind of raid or anything.
Yeah,
Um, and then yeah, we were QRF. There are some other platoons from our company. I think they ended up spending like a week out on some mountaintop somewhere. Um, I remember when they got back, we're sitting on the phone, the MWR, and like these dudes come, they come out, it's like, oh, that sucks for you, man. Um, it's like luck of the draw. It's like, you want to be the guy on the mountain if something's gonna happen, but if nothing happens, you're okay
I
being the dude
heard
back with the child
I
in the
heard some
chow hall.
stories about those guys, man. They had to like fast rope some dude broke his leg or something. I'm like, what? I'm like, man, the whole time I'm in a little bit, I'm like, man, that sucks. That's that sucks for them.
Get your
Uh,
Take your whoopee, pull it up tight, tuck yourself in.
inside my sleeping, man, that sucks. No, but I mean, like you said, luck of the draw. It could have been us too.
The only thing I remember for us is when the main thing went down, we were on some birds, and I remember we were
Yeah.
orbiting in the air for like, because I had to pee, and I just remember it was like it was like 2 hours of flying in circles.
Wow.
It was like the worst thing in the world, and that's it. And then they threatened to keep us there because we were next up to deploy, which is why we got surged. So they
Yeah.
threatened to just keep us there, and I was like, okay. And then they're like, nah, we'll send you back. And then they sent us back. So I think it was like a month we were over there, something like that, right? It
Yeah.
was like something like
Yep.
it was a long month though, long
Yes.
month of not doing anything. Um, but then we came back, and then so did you go to school then? Did you
No,
go back to Blue Ranger
I
then?
went after. So I went to school right after that search.
Mm-hmm.
We came back, trained for a little bit with the new team that I had,
Okay.
and went to we went back to I want to say Solano again. I think no correction. We went back to Afghanistan. We were in Bath, so we went back to Afghanistan, and then did the deployment there. Got ready for the PT test there. I mean, because now they're looking at me. You're gonna go, but you have to
Mm-hmm.
pass the PT test. No
Mm-hmm.
seniority thing, especially because I had the one gentleman, the one team leader now that was, we had I won't say beef, but we would clash heads. So now I have to prove to this guy, yeah, I deserve to go to range school. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, I did everything I could, and then towards the end, I was I was on top of my, I was the best at PT in my team at that moment. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? At that specific moment. And so my team would say, yeah, man, as soon as we get back, you're going to school, get your stuff ready. And that's how it was. And as soon as we got back, I think that within like a month, I left to school. And
And
that's
and
it.
this is not after the cert or when we got surged. You're saying after that
After,
next
yeah,
deployment?
the next deployment, we come back from the search.
The deployment when we got ambushed? You were not a tab when we got ambushed?
No,
What?
that's
Wow.
right. Yeah, oh that's right. That I was a saw gunner along with the other saw gunner of mine.
Yeah. Wow. Man, my memory doesn't. Good thing we're talking about it because my memory doesn't work. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
no, I
my.
was not. I was not. I was like, I'm gonna die a non-tab. I'm just gonna grab one of these from you guys. No, no, I wasn't. And
I thought you were. I thought. I mean, it has no bearing on for people who might
I just I,
misconstrue.
I I give that vibe as
You had the aura of
the
someone
oral
who had completed his
ranger
all the
school
training.
in
Yeah,
my
I mean,
team.
it has no real bearing on performance in combat or anything. It's my surprise is mostly just I just remember
Yeah,
the mind remembers
I
something
was not.
different.
I was not, but yeah, short after right after deployment, I remember the last couple of days of deployment, I had to take one more test, I think, and it was due to the one gentleman, just to make sure. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Man, what is your deal, bro?" The other guy said, "I'm good to
Mm-hmm.
go," and but we did it anyways, and blew out the water again. I was like, "So I'm good to go." Like, yeah, you're good to go. Came back and before I left, I took all his tabs from his locker and left them tablets, little thing.
For those who don't know, it's common for, well, there's a lot of theft in general, to be quite
Yes,
honest. Um,
you're just getting back what somebody took from you, is what I understand.
exactly. There's a lot of that, but it's not uncommon for folks to to grab a tab from, I think usually someone that they respect. Is usually, it's kind of like
Yes,
you like someone, so you steal something from them, and they call it like a drive on tab,
yeah.
I think
Or,
is
they,
what
or
they
they'll
call,
give it to you.
or they give it to you.
Yeah,
But also, so in this case, Jose decided to go a different direction. Um,
yeah.
and I don't think I even had a drive on tab, to be honest. I don't think I
Uh,
ever had one.
I don't think you didn't get one. No, nobody. Oh, yes, right. They just sent you out there.
That's why I spent so
School
long
of
in
rules.
Darby, because I didn't have any.
So it's their fault, really.
It's
If you
really
think
their
about
fault.
it.
Okay, and but that's after that third deployment.
Is it?
Okay, so when we, because we're coming up on time, so when we come back, we got to talk about that third deployment. I I I'm interested to hear what you thought of, because that was a wild time. So I'm interested to hear what you thought of that experience from your perspective.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. Well, that'll be it for this one. We will
All
talk
righty.
to you all in the next one. All
I
right.
know.